Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome to Sunday's edition of the dceu Daily. And we can only start with one thing. Birds of Prey is underperforming at the domestic box office. We're looking now just under 35 million a domestic weekend, which is not very, very, very good. Look, we've already discussed, I don't want to be repetitive on here, we've already discussed what I think went wrong. It's the feminist commentary that's really triggered a lot of people. A lot of people have kept away from this movie because of that. Now, I want to lead into my other subject. I think Birds of Prey, and I've seen it, I love it, it's very entertaining, right? The film really doesn't have a problem in terms of being a piece of entertainment, right? But I think that Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad made the same mistake. Jared Leto's Joker, right? We know that Warner Brothers insisted in cutting a lot of the sequences of Jared Leto's Joker, right? And in Birds of Prey, the same Joker is referenced, and we don't see him. So what's the same mistake both films did? Not having Jared Leto's Joker as the villain. For Christ's sake, you can even have him playing off Ewan McGregor's Black Mask. And do we not think if Jared Leto's Joker was the main villain in Birds of Prey, that more people wouldn't have come to see it? That they wouldn't have put more butts in seats? I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. We all know it. But instead, and it's funny because Warner Brothers, I think, are under the impression that, wholeheartedly people don't like Jared Leto's Joker. No, the people I speak to say we want to give him another chance because of how he was treated by the studio and how they cut most of his scenes in Suicide Squad. And I want to dispel another myth that Suicide Squad, even the studio's theatrical cut, is a bad movie. It's not. It's a really highly entertaining movie. The character dynamic, the dynamic between the characters is really good. It's got great action. I think it's a great movie, and I still want to see David Ayer's Suicide Squad. But will we ever see it? So, and another piece of news, Snyder Cut related, I think they will be extending the art competition. You're all doing this artwork for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think RT Snyder Cut are going to extend it. Zack is fully aware of this competition. In fact, the competition was his idea, and who knows? The winner may even have their artwork on the Snyder Cut graphic novel of Justice League. I'm being told that's definitely going to happen, so that's very, very exciting. Now, yesterday, I was talking about how the fandom of the DCEU is splintered into bits and pieces. We are now we're arriving at the point of no return. And do you know what? Who I'm sad for? DC Comics fans. We have a toxic fandom, a splintered fandom, right? Now, I understand why that's happened. Because there's people who love what Zack did. There's people who don't like what Zack did. Some people like what Walter Hamada's been doing with Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey has received a lot of praise and from comic book fans, but some comic book fans are not happy that Harley is literally a feminist. So, again, splintered opinions, a variety of opinions, which is always good. I'm angry. I'm sick to death. Before every single DC movie, we've got to put up with this toxicity. And we've got this anxiety whether the film is going to hit, if it's going to work, if it's going to have a good box office, right? If the bloggers and the pundits and the mainstream audience are going to like it. I'm sick to death of it. And do you know what? After Justice League, when all the bloggers and the pundits were saying, the whole thing should be rebooted, it will be rebooted, and it never happened. Do you know what? I think we are at a stage now where we should just start again. It's sad. It's sad, but how can we continue this franchise, right? You've got Birds of Prey. It's embarrassed of Suicide Squad and only uses the elements it wants to use. Although It's embarrassed of Suicide Squad, but it does a very lazy thing. It actually uses some sequences from the film. Very lazy. Now, I know Walter Hamada likes to work on a budget, and it's worked for him so far, not including Birds of Prey there, of course, before anyone comments down below and says, but what about the box office for Birds of Prey? But, right, they are clearly trying to distance themselves from Snyder's DCEU. But then again, in Shazam, there's all those Easter eggs. And this is the problem for me right now. Even though things, I suppose, have improved in certain aspects, if we talk non-linear DCEU, we talk about Joker, then we go back to the DCEU, we talk about Shazam and Aquaman, who have done really well, both in the box office, whatever you say, and, by fan reaction. But even the reaction to Birds of Prey mostly has been positive. But it's the domestic box office that's worrying, right? Now, let's look at the box office. Now, it's not the end of the world, because obviously with the low budget of the movie, we don't know how this film's going to do globally. We haven't been told that yet, right? So I think tomorrow, when we get the whole global box office, then we will know. Right now, they're all focusing on the box office of the domestic because it's negative. So everyone's talking negative. But it will be very, very interesting. It's obviously going to get nowhere near the 120 million global, because obviously that was on the proviso that Birds of Prey did about 50 million plus in America, right, in North America. That's not going to happen now. It will be interesting as well to see today how the box office fared on Saturday, if there's any jump. And also we have to ask the question, has this film got long legs? I think it has got rewatchability, but look, we don't know. I think now we have to dumb down the expectations. I think 300 million is still good for a film that didn't even cost 100 million to make. But as I said yesterday, this film had both the disabilities that Joker did. R-rated, which is a choice. That's what the studio and Todd wanted to do, and this is what the studio and Margot wanted to do with Birds of Prey. So both are R-rated, both didn't have the advantages of showing in China. So really, there is no excuses here. And for me, as I've said before, it is the feminist commentary that's really, really hampered this. But this is what Margot wanted. Margot wanted to do this. She's done it. Now, let me go back to the DCEU as a whole. You've got Zack Snyder's films, then you've got the DCEU without Zack Snyder. I'm still very excited with what I'm hearing about Black Adam. But I want a DC cinematic universe everyone can enjoy, especially the comic book fans. You know I love Zack Snyder. I love you, Zack Snyder fans. I love the passion that you have. But none of us are thinking about the diehard comic book fans. And I'm going to start thinking about this from their point of view. It is not bloody fair on them. Warner Brothers had an opportunity to create something wonderful, something special, the kind of thing. Now, I am not suggesting we turn the DCEU into the MCU, but whatever you think about what Kevin Feige has achieved, he's done something that both mainstream audiences and diehard Marvel comic fans on the whole can enjoy. There's still a lot of dissenting voices about Kevin Feige from the diehard MCU. You're not from the Marvel graphic novels, but the fandom from that element. But you ain't going to please everyone, are you? But wholeheartedly, Feige is looking like a very clever man. He's put something together and it works. We need someone to grab the DC cinematic universe by the scruff of the neck. Either continue what's going on within the DCEU right now and say, do you know what? It's a mess. You've got BVS, you've got MOS, you've got Suicide Squad, then you've got Wonder Woman, then you've got Aquaman, and then you've got Birds of Prey that didn't do very well. What next? Well, obviously, they are not going to reboot the entire universe. But something's going to happen in Wonder Woman that does change everything. So I think we really can't judge what's going on until everyone has seen that cut when Diana does something that changes the timeline. That's a fact. That's what's going to happen. Then I can say, in a way, they may even go back on what's happened on Birds of Prey, right? It's interesting. I think this is the movie that says, right, enough's enough. we are going to create a new timeline and fix the things that people have got an issue with. And I think that's important now, because I want Walter Hamada to remain as a bureaucrat, the one who makes certain decisions. But we need a Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige's brilliant for the MCU and Marvel Studios. He's the president. He makes all the decisions. But most importantly, he makes the storytelling decisions. He's everything. He is the guy who decides on the financing. He is the guy who decides on budgets. But he's also the guy. He's also, if you like, the showrunner of the MCU. And there's talk of him taking over Star Wars as well. That will be a big deal, because apparently nobody loves Star Wars more than Feige. Now, I don't agree with that. There's so many fans out there who love Star Wars. It's a big statement, but there has been some talk, and they've leaked some stuff out that basically he's a big Star Wars fan. That can only point to him taking over. Right, let's not talk about Feige too much. So it's obvious that we need someone who's that multi-talented. The problem is they don't come along every day on the next bus, do they? Now, we thought Jeff Johns could be that figure. But the truth is, the only reason Jeff Johns failed is because he was thrown into a situation where you've got Zach. He wants to do this whole kind of reality, kind of real world superhero verse. And of course, Jeff Johns is ingrained in the DC comic book lore. That's why I say that Jeff Johns isn't a bad person. It was just a clash of styles, if you like. But if Jeff Johns was put in charge of it and he could make all the decisions, I think he would have made the comic book fans really happy. But as I say, it was a clash of styles and it was never going to work. So you just need someone to go in there who has a vision. Now, it is interesting because Jeff Johns was supposed to have been thrown out of this cinematic universe, but still, he is co-writing Wonder Woman 1984 with Patty Jenkins. He's very much involved with the DC Universe TV shows, especially Doom Patrol as well. He was a big consultant on that show, and that show was really good. Check out my review on my playlist. But, so Jeff Johns hasn't really been booted out. He's still a big player. But you do need a plan. Now, it's, as I say, there's obviously some kind of plan here, because we know Wonder Woman is going to rewrite the timeline, and the continuation of that Flashpoint storyline will be in the Flash movie. We already know it's going to be a very different type of Flashpoint movie. It's going to be a different type of a Flashpoint movie because it's continuing from whatever they've set up in Wonder Woman 1984. So there's clearly a plan to change things. So I can't make a judgment until I've seen that cut. I've seen the cut without that. I saw a 90-minute cut of Wonder Woman 1984 that I keep on boring on about. But I want to see a DC cinematic universe that tries to please as many people as possible. But I think the people who have been left out of all of this have been the diehard comic book fans. Snyder fans got Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, right? Wonder Woman was a great version of the character, and I think comic book fans were happy with that. I think Aquaman was a great version of Aquaman as well. I think Shazam's a great version of Shazam. So things are starting to, look a bit better if you're a diehard comic book fan. And I definitely feel that until we do see what they're going to do with Wonder Woman 1984 and this decision that Diana makes that changes everything, obviously there's not going to be the toxicity with Wonder Woman because everyone loves Patty and Gal, because Patty and Gal don't make feminist commentary. They say Wonder Woman's for everyone. When Patty or Gal was asked, is it important that girls watch this and be inspired? She goes, it's important for boys and girls, men and women. And this is what you get. But I don't understand, if you're running a franchise, why can't that narrative be around the whole universe? Because if Margot Robbie wasn't allowed to make a feminist commentary movie, then this film will be making a hell of a lot more money. But as I say, someone has to grab this franchise by the scruff of the neck. And maybe after Wonder Woman 1984 and this Flashpoint story, maybe somebody has, and those changes have begun. And it looks like maybe Jeff Johns is behind that, which will anger the rogue elements of the Snyder community. But at the end of the day, I absolutely think it's the right thing to do. Because when I see the box, a Birds of Prey movie should be a very popular event. But as much as I loved the movie, and I did, you've got the feminist commentary, the kind of uncomic book kind of retelling of these characters as well. I mean, if you're going to make a feminist movie, right, fair enough, but at least be faithful in the comics to these characters. Now, I think Black Canary was pretty faithful. A few differences there, but she's pretty much Black Canary. Cassandra Cain isn't the comic book version. So, you know, I think they made this a Margot Robbie Harley Quinn movie as well. That upset some people. So I think the low box office can be explained with the feminist commentary and pretty much putting the Birds of Prey in the background. It is pretty clear the R rating wasn't taken advantage of. It's mostly a lot of swearing. There is violence, there is great action. And I just think that this film was always meant to be a little standalone movie, a girl gang movie, to inspire young girls to stand together and to support each other. And that's not a problem. But people weaponize these type of things. And this is when you don't do these things the correct manner. And I still think if you're going to do a movie where Harley Quinn is constantly going on and on about the Joker and how she's left him. I mean, we've seen it in the animated Harley Quinn series on DC Universe. Joker's there. He's there all the time. And they've done a great job with that dynamic and how she leaves him. So for me, having Jared Leto's Joker is a no-brainer. And as I say, it would have attracted more people. But no, because they believe we don't want Jared's Joker, they've gone away from that. And as I say, it's going to be very interesting after Wonder Woman 84, because clearly whatever happens in that film changes this franchise. So they can change it. So they can do. Now, when I look back at this slate of films, from Man of Steel to Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, I think, and I said this before, I think that it's a good, solid franchise, right? But as I say, now, especially with these box office coming in, and we don't know what the global ticket sales were, so it could still be better than we think. So we mustn't judge it. And even the 35 million opening weekend isn't brilliant, but still, this film will get its money back and make a little profit. And obviously, Warner Brothers' projections were higher, but at the end of the day, this film did have problems behind the scenes. Another DCEU film that did that. And basically, Margot Robbie chose a director who couldn't direct action. She tried to do it, the studio hated it, rightfully so, and they brought Chad in to fix it. And he did. You cannot have a director coming out and saying, I want to make a girl gang movie where women don't need men to save them, and then 5 minutes later she's screaming, Chad, oh Chad, can you help me? What's a girl to do? You can't contradict what you're saying, but they do all the time in Hollywood, and it's a mess. Get a female director of colour, an Asian director if you want, if that's the kind of direction you want to go in. But at least make sure she can bloody direct great action. It's a mess. And don't get me wrong, Kathy Yan is a really talented independent director. But she wasn't suitable for this. She knew it. She said she was surprised they chose her. So she knew it, but she ain't going to turn this down. It's a great opportunity for her. And I still think that Kathy mostly has directed a great movie. It's a great time at the movies. But the mistake is the feminist commentary, and this is where it goes wrong. You should be able to have female-led movies, girl gang movies. But when you pretty much say man bad, women good, then you upset people. I don't get upset about it anymore. I don't. I've accepted it as that big wall at the end of my nose I either squeeze or I ignore. But at the end of the day, Hollywood needs to do better. So what do you think about the low domestic box office for Birds of Prey? What do you think are the reasons? And how can we create a better, diverse, more positive fandom instead of this toxicity that happens all the time? A rogue element of the Snyder Cut community yesterday came on and said, I'm taking a break from Twitter. You're taking a break from Twitter because you incited a riot. You were slating Birds of Prey. And then you went away because you couldn't handle what you got back. Toxicity, toxicity, toxicity. And we need to stop it. Now, hopefully, what can stop all this? Warner Brothers can help. They can release the Snyder Cut. They can release the Air Cut. And then they can move on with their plans. I think their plans are good and solid. But ultimately, someone, J.J. Abrams, anyone, and it looks like Jeff Johns is doing this unofficially, is grabbed this by the scruff of the neck. So I hope Wonder Woman 84 does the right thing, fixes what they feel they have to fix. But you can't just do that because, again, you're going to trigger the Snyder fans and the toxicity continued. Release the Snyder Cut. Release the Air Cut so we can all freaking well enjoy the shit out of them and finally move on and enjoy our movies, because I am sick to death of the negativity and toxicity. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed Sunday's edition of the DCEU Daily. Please comment down below, like, share and subscribe. Like the video, share the channel, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you then.